always one of my favorite times of the week when we get together here at Scotty. So special thanks to Scotty for hosting us. If you don't know, he gives us the space for free. So one quick correction from last week. I spoke last week, and I was talking about a verse. Phyllis asked me about it. It was talking about the law being the ministry of condemnation. I said Corinthians 3, and it was supposed to be 2 Corinthians 3. So my apologies. Right, man.
Did your wife correct you on this one?
Well, yes. She knows more than I do about the Bible, though, for sure. So yeah. The whole shit. No, it was 3. I think it starts at 3:7 or something like that. 3:6, 3:7.
But it doesn't hurt you to read the whole chapter.
I know.
So anyway, Leo's going to be speaking today and asked me to sing a song for you. So I'm going to sing a song called Faith, and it's by Chris Renzema. You may recognize it. It's got some kind of fun lyrics in it. Talks a little bit about fear of stepping out and relying on God. So I mean, saying, it's so funny over there.
Talking about fear earlier.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I've been working the way, said I'll lose my head some days. I just can't keep it together. I keep trying to soldier on, trying to put it in a song, but I just start to unravel. Faith feels like a free fall sometimes. Yes, I still freak out sometimes. Faith is like a free fall sometimes. Yes, I still get scared sometimes. I'm just trying to understand. Is there some great master plan? 'Cause I got so many questions. Am I the only one feels like this ladder's missing rung? 'Cause I can't find a way to climb. Stepping out into the water, not sure if you'll sink or stand. I think fear's pretty normal. Only ever walked on land. This is why I have the words. 'Cause to leap into the unknown, to walk by faith, not sight. We're all scared of what we don't know. Maybe that's all right. Faith is like a free fall sometimes. Yes, I still freak out sometimes. Faith is like a free fall sometimes. Yes, I still get scared sometimes. Maybe that's all right. Yeah, maybe that's all right. Maybe that's all right.
That's a nice intro. Hello, everybody. My name is Leo. Welcome in the church for the rest of us. I'm one of the coordinators today. So I want to start off because every time I come up here, I always tell a little bit of a story, a little bit about me. It is no secret that I am really, really into travel. 2 weeks ago, I came back from Canada for a week up in Vancouver. And 2 days from now, I'll be in Greece for 2 weeks. So I'll be thinking about all of you. Love you. See ya. But about a month ago, I was up in Alaska. My best friend was turning 35, and him and his brother and I went up there, and we just kind of went all over the place. We went to Denali National Park. We went to whale watching and all sorts of fun stuff. We even zip lined. I mean, it was an absolute blast. And while we were up there at his birthday party, I met a guy, because it was a joint birthday. It was him and someone else. The other guy's brother, I found out after a couple drinks, was a pilot. And he goes, I don't know if you know, but I've got a little plane, and if you want to, we could fly you over the glaciers. And me, having a few too many, said, sure, why not? I don't know this guy. And he goes, it's going to be cheap. Just pay me for fuel and we'll have an absolute blast. And I'm like, sure, we'll do it. And then I told Doug and Dave, and we were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's have that. Have fun. So trying to coordinate all of us was a little bit of a pain, but we finally decided on the last day of the trip. And it was like that or nothing. We were going to go. So we get to the airfield. There's no one there. And then it's just the three of us. It's Dave, Doug, and I. And Doug is Dave's brother. And we're waiting for this guy, and he's just kind of taking his time and everything else. And he comes up onto the airfield, and he looks at the plane, and he goes, yeah, it'll do today. Okay. So it'll do today, because he's just looking around trying to make sure the weather was perfect. And so when we were there, all of a sudden Dave started feeling queasy, and he was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, but you guys can. That's fun. And so it was like, okay, so it'll be just Doug and I. And so just to kind of talk, this is the plane that we were in. And that's Dave. He's 6'7". I can see why he got queasy, right? And so we were in this thing, and it was an absolute blast. I mean, when we were in the planes, just looking at the glaciers and everything like that, it was so much fun. And just going in, and by the way, the seats are like this big. So I'm kind of squished up. I'm actually taking 2 seats because I got a big butt. And and I'm just enjoying everything. And we were going over the glaciers. We were banking over mountains. In the other videos there, you may see 3 little specks. Those are people, because we were about 100 feet away from them, because we were, casing the mountains and everything. And it was an absolute blast. I loved it so much. And then I know we've got kids in the room, so I'm going to PG it a little bit. But he all of a sudden turned to the left and said, oh French, yeah? And he looked over, and Doug all of a sudden, because I heard it too. I didn't have the plug-in headset, but I could audibly hear him through the earmuffs. Like, he said it loud. And Doug looked over and everything else. And all of a sudden we look over, and there's this just gigantic rain cloud that came in. And it had covered the airfield. And he looked at it and he goes, well, this is going to suck. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna do that. And you could audibly hear him over everything. And so as we were coming in, it was one of the most intense moments ever, because you couldn't see the airfield. You couldn't see the landing strip. And even in this video, there's 2 sides. That's where the planes park. You have to fly in the middle, and you can't see the runway at all. And I know there's no audio on this one, but you can hear him going, the whole way down, as he's trying to land this thing. And we hit the ground hard. I don't mean like boom. No, it was boom, right? And it was the most, and you could see everything was shaking there, and Doug is all excited and everything like that. It was really, really intense. And I was like, this is awesome. I love every bit about it. And then we got out of it, and I was like, this is so cool. I mean, you don't get that experience flying over the glaciers and everything like that. And then I realized, I'm like, wait a minute. I just trusted my life with a guy that I just met while having one too many drinks, and a plane that I didn't really know anything about. And to make things even more funnier is I said, how can I trust this guy? But yet sometimes I can't trust my faith with the Lord and creator of everything. I trust that guy that I just met, but I have sometimes a little bit of struggle when it comes with faith. Does everybody kind of have that struggle as well too? A lot of us do. We always have those struggles. And so when I'm going through this in my mind, I'm like, think of it like this. This is a trust society, by the way. We trust a lot of things, right? Like, I trusted that guy to make sure that plane wasn't going to fall apart. When you guys came in, you guys sat in chairs that you probably haven't sat in before. Maybe you have, maybe we moved them around. How do you know that Jan didn't remove some of the bolts? Right? Or some of us, I like coffee. How do I know that Gabby didn't put poison in my coffee this morning? So we live in a trust society, right? We're always trusting. Even bring it a little bit further. Do you trust the pharmacist to make sure that you got the right medication? Do you trust the drivers that are driving down the road to not go into your lane? Well, we have a trust society, right? We have to know that those are the lines, and going into those is no business, right? But we trust all of that. So how is it that I can? Now, at the end of the day, we're sitting at one of the bars because that's why not? We have there's tons of them up there. And I start asking the pilot a couple questions, and I start asking him about, why did you get a license? Why was this? I want to get to know the guy a little bit more because he just flew us for free, except for what we had to pay for gas. And as we're there, he's telling me, well, I really love this plane. I bought it a couple of years ago. I didn't really know too much about it. I got the records from it, and I found out that it had been totaled twice. And I said, tell me more, right? Because I wanted to know what I just experienced. He goes, the first time it actually hit, and then it went forward, and the prop hit the ground, and it messed up the motor and the braces and everything else, and they totaled it. Somebody rebuilt it and made it airworthy again and went through the certifications and got it back in the air. The other time, it didn't just hit the propeller, it went upside down. And somebody rebuilt it, made sure they went through certification, made sure they verified that it was in proper airworthiness, and then they flew it again. Because I trusted in him because he verified that the plane was worthy to fly. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk not just about trust, but about faith and having verification with our faith. So today's question of the day is this, have you ever had faith in something or someone that you trusted but had no idea how it was going to work out? So take a couple minutes and talk amongst yourself. By the way, that picture's in Denali National Park. I think that's hilarious. But take a couple minutes, talk amongst the tables, and we'll go from there. All right. So the question of the day was, have you ever had faith in something or someone and you had no idea how it was going to turn out? Anybody want to say anything over on this side? Go ahead. Marriage. One word. We all get it. Marriage. That's the best answer so far. Oh, okay. Of course. Absolutely. Trust her with everything. Yes. Yes. How many years you been married? You're still in the dating phase. It's yeah. Yeah. What you got there?
In keeping with your pilot story that you opened with, I was a pilot in the Canadian Air Force for 29 years.
Oh, cool.
18 of those years. So when you walked out to an airplane, you had to have faith that you prepared yourself physically and mentally, but knowing full well that you can't cover everything that could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
As an example in your case as well. But you had to have faith on the maintainers to prepare that airplane.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't stick together. But in the long run, you had the faith you had to have, and that I had in the process of doing this was with God.
Mm-hmm.
Because my preparation physically and mentally, as I mentioned, didn't cover everything that could go wrong. So everything was left up to him. And he could end that in a catastrophic way, or he could end that in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, he always ended it.
Absolutely. Cool. Thanks. Anything over here? Either front or back? Why don't you start in the back? Yeah. Albert? What? Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. We got some nurses in here too that can contest to that too. Yeah. What do you guys got?
Well, we're back to the pilot story also. And I was saying that when I Michigan, the lady behind me in the line was just terrified. She was going to fly, and I said, whoa. You surrendered that right when you got in this line. Once you step on that plane, you've surrendered all rights to have fear.
Excellent.
So there's nothing to fear. You have to have faith.
That's right. There you go.
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
So
I the minute I walk onto the plane, I tap the side and I go, please get this to the other side in one piece, no bolts missing. That's the whole thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Driving down the street, somebody's gonna stop at the road.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, your life becomes paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Paralyzed with fear. The fear of the unknown. Like God, like George said, it's ultimately it's up to him.
Right.
He has the ultimate control, and you're Christian and you believe in that. You understand that whatever he does is for his glory ultimately, and for our good. So lots of things that we may trust in that you may think is going to happen, that don't work out the way.
Yep. True. Dan's table. What do you got? Jody's husband.
No, okay. Okay. Well, we were talking about when we moved here to Florida, we bought a house on sight unseen,
Mm-hmm.
and expected we could handle it, and we did, but it was a mess. It was a pretty big mess. So
Mhm.
we probably won't do that.
And your house is gorgeous, by the way, with all the renos and everything. It's been great. Yeah.
He had to deal not just with the knowledge that he had all those renovations to do, but a crying mind.
Oh, okay. Mm. A lot of that. Yeah. It's a stressful time, putting together a house. A lot can go wrong, but a lot can go right. So, if anybody's gone through hurricanes, Danny, we know. So, what do you guys got in the back? Good point. Awesome. What do you guys got over in the table here? Getting on the motorcycle for the first time. That would took a lot. It was what, a month and a half, 2 months in? Yeah, death grip over here. She got on the bike and she was just like holding this tight. I'm like, I need to breathe. She was scared to death. Now it's just she almost falls asleep on the back. It's great. So yeah. Was that? Alex, what do you got? Was that? I could see you going. So we all have stories about trusting people. We all have stories about having faith in others. And so, like I said, today we're going to talk a lot about faith. There's because Matt told me last time, don't have the reading on 2 pages. It's on 1 this time. So thank Matt for that. And they're short verses too. So today we're talking about faith. And it's quite evident that in our culture today, faith is kind of running on hard times. If you spent 5 minutes on the internet at all, you might have come across the word that says, I've lost faith in humanity. Has anyone ever seen that before? And a lot of people feel that way when it comes to some of the stuff that we do. And if anyone has ever felt that way, the question is, well, where does that faith come from? And what is faith? So we're going to start with the Bible. So if you guys could read the first one, Hebrews 11:1, please. Perfect. Thank you. So this description about faith, I think, is incredibly accurate. And by the way, if you look in Hebrews 11, it's mentioned, in Hebrews, it's mentioned 32 times. 24 times the word faith is mentioned in this chapter alone, 24 times. And so the first thing we learn is in that one sentence, it says that faith is the realization of things that we are hoping for. In the translation, and I thank Phyllis for this one because she gave me the Greek Bible for this one, it's translated to assurance or realization in Greek. And what does that mean? Is that the author is literally saying that faith is the realization for things that we are hoping for. I think that's a great translation on that. And so when it comes to faith, it's not ambiguous. It's not something that's unsure. It's concrete conviction that this is what we are hoping for. This is the assurance that we have. It is the present day. I love this quote in here. It is the present day confidence of a future reality. I always pull out all sorts of smarter people than me. Well, what else is it? Well, is that God is faithful to his promises. And for an unbeliever, most people say seeing is believing, but for the believer, believing is seeing. The second statement I think is even stronger than that. It says that the faith of the reality is things that we do not see. So practically, faith is like a sixth sense, right? So for instance, there's 5 senses that we all know. You've got seeing, vision, right? Taste, smell, touch, and what's the other one? Sight. Hearing. Thank you. So for instance, we cannot see smell, right? So when you're walking by something that smells really good, like we got the food truck outside, that's some really good smells out there. I know we were talking about getting some French fries afterwards, right? But everybody loves that kind of a smell. Or maybe like sometimes Matt and I will go up to the mountains when we did some carving of some canyons and stuff like that. Seeing this, being in the scenery was absolutely wonderful, but having the smells hit you as well too, because you get the different changes in altitude and the whole smells of it, right? It actually embeds in your memory about the things that are happening around you. But has anybody ever been to a convention center during the summer? What does everybody think of that? Stinky. Thank you. Some people forget to wear deodorant, right? And so also I've had the wonderful pleasure, because Matt and I have been rebuilding one of the motorcycles in my shop, and that's where I work out of, and I've been smelling old gas for the past week and a half. So that whole smell is like, I don't know if I want to work in here anymore. So I've been working at the office now. Thank you. Appreciate that. But those are things, is like those memories and the smells will stick together like that. And the same thing is with God. Both of these are unseen, because it's something that we take with the unseen and we make it part of the reality of our life. See, faith allows us to see the promises of God, and he gives us the gift of faith and enables us to take what we cannot see, and it becomes part of who we are. And faith isn't just wishful thinking. It's confidence in the explanation based on what God has promised. And even those promises yet might not have materialized yet in the physical world, we know that they are coming. I am going to be doing another version of this when I speak the next time. It's going to be a part 2, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, because we talked about that on the phone the other day. And so in a trust in God, his reliability leads us to action and conviction, and it's beyond what we currently see. So I'm going to take some of these and I'm going to really bring it home. So first thing is this. Can you guys read 1 Peter 1:8-9, please?
Though you have not seen him, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and you are filled with inexpressible and glorious joy. For you are receiving the end result of your faith, the salvation of your souls.
Thanks, boss. So you know and see and believe because God has given us the instrument of faith, and it is a gift, that faith, where we can start to see the unseen God. So where do you get your faith from? Where do you start? Well, I think that when you're putting the faith together, you have to do it in a certain criteria, in a certain order. See, you guys have had the pleasure of doing the Bible in the year, right? How many of you actually have a physical Bible? How many of you brought it? 2, right? So, or if you guys have downloaded the app on your phone, do you have it with you on your app, right? Right? And so it starts with this. It all starts with the mind. It's all about embracing the content of truth when it comes to understanding the faithfulness of God. So it's kind of like this. Imagine one day you look in a mirror, like I did today. You look in a mirror and all of a sudden you see, oh goodness, I'm getting a little bit of a spare tire going on, and I really need to go to a gym. So if I decide that I want to go to a gym, I'm not just going to put on some gym shorts and go and find a random one. Maybe I'm going to want to do some research on different types of gyms, right? What if I want one that's got air conditioning and nice music instead of one that basically looks like a garage or a Gold's Gym, right? I'm going to look for stuff like that. And maybe instead of just walking into the actual gym, I'm going to want to think of, what am I going to work out today? Because if you walk into a gym, are you going to hit every machine in the entire gym? Or are you going to focus in on one, right? So it all starts with doing a little bit of research. In other words, finding out what this is all about. And I really recommend you guys, if you haven't taken a moment to read, start with Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Those are the core foundings of where our faith comes from. Then after that, if you want to read about the Acts of the Apostles and go into some of the other books, like my personal is Philemon, you want to go to Genesis and learn about the creation. Maybe you want to see how the story ends, you go to Revelation, right? But it all starts with making that mental decision. You don't get faith by an emotional experience. And I know a lot of people, I know one guy personally, his name is Mike Sharp, And Mike walked in because his friends invited him to go to a worship service. And it turned out to be a great concert. He's an incredible guy, makes a ton of money, and all he does is give away his money in order to help bring people to Christ. But his thing was, I didn't go because of the concert. I went because the speaker spoke truth and I verified it for myself. I go and get the content first. And he's just an amazing gentleman. I love everything that he does. And so God allows you to hear the truth, and that truth comes to your mind and you begin to interact with it, right? How many of you have read scripture and actually have said, ooh, that hurt? Because it hits home, right? That's what it means, is that he's working on not just your head, but now he's working on your heart. But it all starts with the head, right? So do you know what it's called? It's called thinking. How many of you have ever heard the term that Christians are just mindless people who have no idea what's going on? They just follow blindly. Yes, right? Lots of people feel that way. Well, you know what? We're not a cult. We're free thinkers. We find the evidence for ourselves. And by the way, I challenge everybody at the end of the day, read Hebrews 11, right? Do not take my words for it, as LeVar Burton used to say on Reading Rainbow. Go look it up yourself. And that's the whole thing, is you have to go and look at it yourself. So you become a Christian first by thinking and hearing about truth. Does that all make sense? Amen. All right. So this is if you can hit my next slide for me, Matt. So this is one thing we want to talk about, the Bible itself. So understanding the word and its contents. The Bible is 66 books written by 40 different authors, 3 continents with 3 different languages, spanning over 1,500 years with one central theme. I want to highlight this, is that this doesn't happen by accident. And you can see how everything is related. It's actually by divine providence. Have anybody ever tried to get a party together and try and get everybody to line up schedules or anything? Could you imagine 40 people over the course of 3 different continents and 3 different languages over 1,500 years trying to put all this together? Only God can do that. It is divine providence that brought this book together. In fact, in my next slide right over here, you can see there are 63,779 cross references in the Bible. That doesn't happen by accident. It is divine providence that makes this happen. And I love this picture because of the visualization. I'm a visual person. And you see how everything is interconnected. If you get one like a study Bible like mine, and it has the actual scripture, and then it actually says, where is it in the other parts of the Bible, and what does it mean, and everything else, it'll blow you away. You'll read a chapter, you spend a whole hour working on it when it takes 20 minutes to read the chapter. It is insane. Really, really take some time and verify the contents by reading the word. And knowing the central theme is this, is that in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2, God has perfect love for us. He wants to create this beautiful world for us. And then the rest of the Bible, Genesis 3 all the way to the end of Revelation, is us screwing it up. But it's because of his grace and his mercy that we find in him that we can have forgiveness through him. That is the theme. And how is it done? It's done by reading the content, understanding what's happening inside of here, and knowing that God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit want a relationship with you so badly that they will create something for us, even though sometimes we can be resentful or go against that. That love is so powerful. So faith begins with the mind. It begins with interacting with what we know. It's a perception, and perception isn't faith, which is why we need to add persuasion or emotion. So my next slide there. I don't know, is that? Yeah, it's just that. So I like talking about stories, like talking about friends of mine. I got a really long-term friend of mine. His name is Brutus. Now, Brutus is a Band of Brothers guy. So if you guys want to come to Band of Brothers, it's in November. It's a 4-day camp. Matt. But he is an incredible guy. He's also in business with me. Him and I have gotten the same recognitions in the business. He's just an incredible guy. And Brutus's name is Big Sexy. All right. And so Big Sexy right now, the reason why he got his name wasn't because he was tall. It was because he was big. he was about 2.5, maybe 3 times the size of me. He was a big boy. And Big Sexy was thinking, I'm getting a little large and in charge. I want to be able to start working out. And he just didn't really have the motivation, the wherewithal to get going. So he decided, because he started feeling a little bit of pain and tightness in his chest, that he was going to go visit his doctor. And his doctor and him were talking about it, and he goes, and my daughter's getting married soon, and I'm really excited about what's happening in my life. I'm really happy. And his doctor looked him dead in the eyes, and he said, if you don't make a lifestyle change today, you will not walk your daughter down the aisle. That scared the piss out of him. He was all like, I need to do something now. So Brutus started doing some research at the gym. It's like we talked about before. He started to do some research about different gyms. And he said, you know what? Because it impacted me so much, I didn't want to go to one that was air conditioned and I went, wee, for 30 minutes, right? He decided he wanted to do CrossFit at 500 and something pounds. And so he decided to do it. He lost 280 pounds in his first year. Without a band, without anything, he just said, I am doing this. And you know what? He walked his daughter down the aisle. It all started with an emotional change, with an actual how to do it. He wanted to do it. He just didn't know how to do it. He researched it. He now had an emotional drive as to why he was doing it. And then he did it. And so I am so proud of him. And right now, if you look at him, I just call him sexy, right? You're like, what's up, sexy? How you doing, right? He's still big sexy. He's taller than me. He's like 6'4". And so, but you're emotionally attached to that. So if the object of your faith is just knowledge, but not conviction, then you don't have faith. You don't have faith. It's just head knowledge, right? I know a lot of people that are really, really smart. They're book smart, but they're street dumb. How many people know that in our families, right? Some people are street smart, but they're book smart, but street dumb, right? So it's not about how much knowledge you know. It's about how much Jesus you know. Not about how much knowledge, about how much Jesus. And it won't take much to believe in him, because his record is so clear and it's so clean. There's no reason for you not to get emotionally involved in what he's got going on. So if the first one is perception and the second one is persuasion, the third one is called performance. And so Matt and I have gotten in scuffles about this every once in a while. And so we keep talking about this. And some people will say, well, do you need to do works in order to be saved? Absolutely not. But you do have to respond to faith. You do have to respond. So in other words, is that when you respond to your faith, again, it's like going to the gym. You now know the information. You figured out what machine you want to work on, what exercise you want to do. You have an emotional drive. But if you do not drive to the gym and have the will to do the gym, then all of that is lost. Make sense? Go ahead.
Justification is you're justified by your faith.
Mm-hmm.
And just to expand upon that a little bit, not to get off.
No, you're good. You're good.
But as far as, even though we do think it out, God gives us the ability to think that out. So if you really look deeply enough, it's God's giving you that faith to be able to think it out, be able to have the faith. So he opens those doors in your life and he enables you to be able to do that.
Absolutely.
It's such, it's like a circular conversation, because it's like, but God created it all. So it's like, wow,
yeah,
allowing me to have faith in him so he can save me.
Right.
So it's by his grace alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. So faith doesn't bypass your mind. It doesn't bypass your emotion, and it doesn't bypass the will. And I love this quote. I got it from one of the books I was reading. It says, real faith says this: I will. Real faith says, I do. Real faith says, I believe, I accept, and I receive. And if you haven't come through the process, then we need to take a look at where your faith is. Real faith says, I will. Real faith says, I do. Real faith says, I believe it, I accept it, and I receive it. I see Miss Jones got the whole back page already written. I love that. So how do we demonstrate our faith? Well, can you guys read the next one? Hebrews 11, 1 through 2. Thank you. Like I said, short and sweet, right? What does this verse mean? Is that those are the elders that are in the books. There's 27 of them. Some of them are named. 11 of them are 11 are named. Some of them are unnamed. And those are the people who I'm gonna read the last chapter for you guys because I just absolutely love it. But in some of the translation, it says this. It says, by faith, we commend ourselves to our Creator. And another translation says, by faith, the elders obtained a good report. Well, how do you obtain a good report? By having faith. You're talking about that before, by having faith, right? Hebrews 11:5, I'm going to read this one for you. It said that Enoch's testimony pleased God because he walked with God. And so you can't please God if you don't have faith, right? I think you said this yourself last time about, I don't know, a couple months back, as you said, God listens to those who have faith in him, right? It's the same thing. So in other words, is that how do you get attention? Have faith. And in verse 3, we're actually told how our faith is going to be comprehended. And so if you can read Hebrews 11:3, please.
By faith, we understand that we more perform God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible.
Thanks, Kristen. So this word, by the way, it says the universe means is that the world's ages. In other words, the time that we have as well too. And I love inside of Genesis 1:1, if anybody can read that one too.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Thank you. And if you listen to a psalmist, which is actually the next one underneath it, it's Psalms 33, 6, and 9.
Their scarred host by the preach of this mouth. For he spoke, and it became to be. He commanded, and it stood firm.
Thank you. So what does that mean? Is that God created everything that we see. You say in that circular reasoning? Exactly. Is that's how some people look at it. We're going to break it down a little bit more. But God created everything that we see. The world was created and it stood firm, meaning is that his commands are not temporary or fleeting if you look at different translations in the Greek. And so I've had a lot of conversations with people because I work with a lot of individuals one-on-one, and every once in a while they see I got a Church for the Rest of Us logo somewhere and we start talking about church. I've had a bunch of atheists come into my office. I've had a bunch of evolutionists, agnostics, you name it, they've probably been there, right? And so I want to kind of tell an old story that was from when I was a kid that was told to me. It says that there is an old story of God and an atheist having a contest. And the atheist said that I will make man just like you. And God said, go for it, right? And so what did the atheist do? He said, well, let me just take some dirt and we will make man. And then he started to, and then God said, go get your own dirt. You know it too, right? Go get your own dirt, right? See, when it comes to the whole idea, atheism, evolutionists, agnostics, the whole concept of where they're forming their basis actually starts to break down when you get into Genesis as well, too. So if you go all the way back to the beginning, let's say to the Big Bang Theory, which I don't know if Matt, you're flipping my slides or not, but you go to the Big Bang Theory, right? It still doesn't answer the question of where did the elements come from? Right? If you look at a periodic table, where did all of those elements come from? And there's just no way how most of them can be able to explain it. And they go, oh, it just happened. Has anybody ever done laundry before? Has anybody opened the dryer and all of your clothes are perfectly folded? Every shirt was no wrinkle, no nothing, right? Never happened. So of all the millions and millions and maybe billions of people who have dryers, who have used them maybe once a week, has anybody ever seen a photo of, look at how perfectly this came out? The chances of it are so insurmountable. It's unbelievable. And evolution is still taught in school, and it's being debunked every single day. Think of another thing as well. What about our brains? All of the intricacies inside of it, all the neurons that are firing and how we're able to capture memories and be able to spew out stuff. Yet that's insane, right? What about your eyes? All of the little bits inside of it. How is it that this just happened by accident, right? What about anything? What about every mammal that we see that has a male or a female genome? How does that happen, right? How is it that it's copy paste amongst all of the mammals, right? Or even if you take the science of the cosmos, anything like that, there has to be a divine creator. It doesn't happen by accident. And so, and I'll tell you what about this as well, is that it's harder for some people to have the belief of atheism than it is for me to have the belief of a creator. Because you just can't explain it. You can't, and there's been studied for years and years and years. So next up is the demand of faith. So if you can go to Hebrews 11:6 for me, please.
And without faith, it is impossible to please God, because anyone who comes to him must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who earnestly seek him.
Excellent. Thank you. So God listens to those who believe, and faith is not only essential, but faith is a divine explanation. It says, for those who come to God must believe that he exists. I've had many, again, like discussions with atheists and agnostics, and they've had a really tough time explaining some of this stuff that we talked about before. But here's the thing, is that some of them at the end recognize that there could be a God. But it's just that little extra step, that little extra faith where some people have that opportunity where it's starting to click and then they just give up. It's about us helping our brothers and sisters that are all around this county and state and everywhere else to go, like, take a look at it for yourself. Really go into the knowledge and check it out for yourself. Don't trust me, trust the Bible, trust the science, trust the historical documents. Matt, we had a video of him as well too, was the evidence of the Bible, the evidence of Jesus Christ. Go study that as well too. We really recommend you do that. And so when we talk about this as well, there's also a divine expectation that there is a reward for those who seek him. The Bible says that if you seek God, he will be found. I've got a bunch of verses after this. So if you guys could read Isaiah 55:6, please. Excellent. Next one, Jeremiah 29:13, please. Appreciate that. Amos 5:4, please. Thank you. And the last one, Matthew 6:33. Thanks, Joan. God has revealed himself in his creation that if man really wants to know God and he seeks after God, he will be found. I'm not going to go too much into my story, but there's plenty of times where I have cried out to God, and it's always been, again, one of four things. It's no, go, slow, or grow. No, meaning, because if everybody prayed for the lotto numbers, no, right? Go means yes, right? Slow means take your time. Don't rush into it, but that is a soft yes. And grow means not yet. Don't rush the process, right? If you've ever been to a steakhouse, and let's say Jan is my waiter, and I tell him that I want a steak medium, and he goes, okay, and he turns his back, and I go, where's my steak? He hasn't had a chance to start cooking it, right? Even though I asked him for it, that doesn't mean that I'm going to get it right now. So grow, just wait. It's coming, right? So take your time, right? Trust the process. Thank you. Appreciate that. So and this is my last bit, and then I'll be done for today. So when it comes to examples of faith, the rest of chapter 11 was way too long because I was going to get yelled at by Matt. But these are going to be your Hall of Famers. I'm a big sports card person. I love Hall of Fame. But the whole thing is that inside of this, Paul has declared that we walk by faith and not by sight. And he wrote, and this is the last verse on there, in Galatians 2:20 to the Galatians.
I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Thanks, Jan. So in other words is this: I live by faith. Faith is not a passive word. Faith is an action word, and faith does something. I want to read the rest of chapter 11 to you, and I'm going to do it as fast as I can, but I highly recommend you read the scripture on your own. So, and I think that this is so cool because of the way that it empowers it. And by the way, it is long, so strap in. Faith brings the proper sacrifice.
Faith enables one to walk with God. Faith builds an ark when it's never rained. Faith goes out not knowing where it's going. Faith dwells with in an intense situation in a foreign country. Faith looks for a city whose builder and maker is God. Faith receives strength to bear a child when the mother is past the age of childbearing. Faith offers up one's own son in obedience. Faith believes in the resurrection. Faith promises not to leave Jacob's bones in Egypt. Faith refuses to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Faith chooses to suffer affliction with the people of God. Faith esteems a reproach of Christ's greater riches than the treasures of Egypt. Faith forsakes Egypt for the promised land. Faith promises through the Red Sea as on dry ground. Faith walks around Jericho till the walls fall down. Faith subdues kingdoms, works righteousness, obtains promises, stops the mouths of lions, quenches the violence of fire, escapes the edge of a sword, and turns the fight to the enemies. And faith revives the dead back to life, and faith receives the promises. That is the Cliff Notes. And so if anybody tells you, oh, your faith is just a feeling, it's not. It is true. It is not something that we just feel. Faith acts. And so I'm going to take it down even a step. I'm just going to talk about the verbs that are in chapter 11. Faith obtains, understands, offers, pleases, prepares, obeys, goes out, waits, receives, embraces, confesses, declares, seeks, desires, offers, concludes, blesses, worships, mentions, refuses, chooses, esteems, looks, forsakes, fears, endures, keeps, passages, encircles, receives, works, obtains, stops, quenches, escapes, and becomes. That is not passive. That is, you got some power, right? That is where our faith comes from. Those are the verbs. So when anybody says, oh, you can just take a sit back and you can relax. Nope. We are going to embrace it and we're going to move forward, right? Absolutely. So you can't just you can't go to God unless you got faith, and you can't walk with God without faith. And so at the end of this, and I got one more slide, Matt, if you've got questions or challenges that is going through right now, I wanted to wear my Hulkamania shirt today. It was yellow. It didn't look good on me. I look like a traffic cone. But if you've got challenges with faith, come and talk to us, right? If you've got questions, comments, complaints, concerns, or confessions, come talk to us, right? We got a lot of stuff going on. Talk to me, talk to Matt. I don't know if Gary's on Zoom or not, but I know that he's working right now. Talk to Jan, talk to Danny, and our intern John, who's not here as well too. Which I don't know, maybe we should give him a promotion at some point in time, but we'll see about that, right? He likes the intern. I was thinking senior intern, But anyway, so like I said, I'm going to be doing a part 2 that's actually going to be taking this information and actually showing where in the Bible our faith is in action and live.